How to cook English sauces. Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is James Howe and this is Chef at Home. And today we continue on with our look at compound sauces, specifically looking at what they call English sauces. Now these are the first of its kind that we've come across that aren't categorised by their technique, it's categorised by their provenance. So basically where they've come from. There's loads of examples, there's hot ones, there's cold ones. It can be served with meat, fish, veg. It is actually quite amazing how broad this category is. But today we're going to go through 3 examples of really useful ones that you can make use of straight away. So we're going to be doing a hot applesauce, a bread sauce and a tartar sauce. But before we get into that, this is another lesson in my how to cook series. So if you're just brushing up on your skills or you're starting from scratch, I'm going to arm you with all the skills that I was taught as a trainee and every technique and recipe in a classically trained chef's arsenal. So if that sounds like you, hit subscribe and I'll see you every Monday for more lessons. But now that's out of the way, let's get on with it. Okay, so applesauce. You only need 3 ingredients for this. It's very quick, very simple. So start off with some apples. Now you can use any apples you like. They've all got a different taste. They're all different levels of sweet, bitter, sour. So start off, I'd advise just using the ones that you know you already like. And then from there, just start experimenting. So I'm starting off with some crab apples. We're just going to take that peel off. From there, you need to take this core out. Now, if you don't have a corer, easiest thing to do, chop it into quarters and then at an angle, just whip the core out. Now, when you're making this, you need to work quite quickly because the apples will start to discolour, they'll start to oxidise and go brown. Grab yourself a little saucepan and then just dice your apples. Smaller you do it, the quicker they'll cook. You know, classically this isn't supposed to be a smooth sauce. It's supposed to have little lumps here and there, little bits of texture. Makes it a bit more interesting. Now into these apples, I'm going to add a little bit of flavour with a pinch or 2 of cinnamon. You can put a stick in there if you want, but the ground stuff just makes life that little bit easier. And then a couple of tablespoons worth of caster sugar or granulated sugar. And that's something you need to experiment with. The more bitter the apple, a little bit more sugar. But if you've got something sweeter, then you need to take a little bit away. But that just comes with practice. So from there, onto the heat. So there's enough water in the apple that you don't need to add any more. So you can slowly cook it out, let the juices be extracted from the apple, and that'll take round about 10 minutes. So after about 10 minutes, apples should be nice and soft. So there's no resistance there when you give that a prick with the end of a knife. If you tilt the pan, you should be able to see a fair amount of liquid has now come out of those apples and it's combined with the sugar and created a bit of a syrup. Now to get the texture where it's a little bit smooth but still a little bit chunky, best thing to do is age old trick, arm yourself with a whisk and just use the whisk to beat the eggs down. I know you could argue like, what's the point in all this? You could just nip out to a supermarket, get a jar of applesauce for £1. But a proper chef, you put as much effort into things like this as you do your meat, your potatoes, your veg. Only as strong as your weakest link. After a couple of minutes, you end up with this lovely applesauce. Nice and chunky, perfect accompaniment to a nice roast pork. And that, just go into your little service dish. Alright, sauce number 2, the bread sauce. Slightly gone out of favour a little bit. Beautiful with a roast chicken. So into a saucepan with milk for about 100ml-ish I'm going to do here. And then into that, some nice fresh breadcrumbs. This is from white bread. There is a rule that if you're serving it with chicken, use just fresh breadcrumbs. If you're doing something like a game, then you'd use toasted breadcrumbs. From there, you need a studded onion or onion cloutes there. I think just because I'm doing a smaller amount, I'm going to stick to 3 cloves, but that's half an onion, bay leaf, studded with the cloves. And that go into the milk and bread. So that's just going to go onto the heat low light for around about 15 minutes. Don't be tempted to rush it and try boiling it. Because it's milk, easily going to split, it could boil over and make a hell of a mess. So just be patient, it will be worth it. Alright, so if we look at the sauce, just get rid of your onion now. Should be nice and thick. At this stage it's almost like a porridge texture. From there, knob of butter, just melt that in. Straight away you'll start seeing it loosen up. And then pour in some double cream. And what you end up with is this lovely, lovely sauce. Now you wouldn't normally have this on its own, it'd usually be with a gravy, so it's almost like a little Brucey bonus. Now we'll just pour that into a service dish. Job's a good one. Okay, sauce number 3 is a tartar sauce. Now this one might surprise you, because it did me. First time my chef showed me this when I was about 15, 16, I was convinced it'd gone mad. It was so far removed from the version that you get out of the jar. But trust me, this is as it was intended way back in the 1880s or whenever it was that it was written down many moons ago. So first thing you need is some hard-boiled eggs. So we're going to whip off the shell, he says pointlessly. Of course you're taking off the shell. What you're also going to do is remove the white. So you can keep that for something else, have an egg mayo sandwich or something later. But what you want is the yolk. And pop that into a separate bowl. So once that's all the yolks out, just grab yourself a fork and just crush those yolks down to get like a fine powder. Then from there, a little bit of olive or rapeseed oil. Mix that with a whisk and it's going to form a paste. Then once the oil's in, a dash of vinegar, then a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. Just like with all the other combination of egg and oil or butter in most cases that we've covered so far, we're going to be creating an emulsion. Just keep whipping to get a nice, essentially a mayonnaise. Then once you got there, grab yourself a couple of spring onions, just get rid of that outer layer, then a really, really fine chop, and then some chervil. If you haven't got chervil, you can use parsley, and again, really fine dice. And back to that base, and in they go, and just fold them through, and then serve. And just like all other emulsions, they do split out eventually, so make this last moment and serve pretty sharpish. Okay, so that's 3 English sauce. We've got the apple, the bread sauce, and the tartar. Now this was the last lesson on this little section about compound sauces, and next week we're going to be going on to some practice dishes. So in the meantime, it might be worth you going back and just having a look at a couple of those and refresh yourself. But all said and done, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.